On the day my younger sister eloped with the young marquis, I stopped her. I advised her. If you marry him, you will be his wife. If you elope, you will be his concubine. If he truly loves you, he will come to marry you. Later, my sister became the general's wife, and colluded with bandits to kill my entire family. Only then did I realize that she had hated me all her life because of the young marquis. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day they eloped. This time, I didn't stop her. But my sister regretted it. A group of ruthless bandits broke into the Lin mansion on a dark night. Under the gloomy moonlight, they slaughtered 13 members of the Lin family. I shielded my daughter with my body, preventing her from making a sound. Hey! There are 2 more hiding here. They left no corner of the mansion untouched, finding me and my daughter in the cellar. My 3-year-old daughter was stabbed through the heart in front of me. Mother, don't cry. Your daughter doesn't feel pain. They bound my hands and feet and ravaged my body. After an unknown amount of time, the group left in frustration. My younger sister, the general's wife, was resting at an inn nearby. I recognized the faces of those men. I must avenge my family. I clung to life, cradling my daughter's lifeless body, limping forward. The usually smooth path was now treacherous, and I fell countless times along the way. When I finally arrived, I saw my sister flirting with someone. That person was none other than the leader of the bandits who had slaughtered my entire family. The blood in my body froze instantly. After they left, I rushed to my sister and slapped her across the face. Lin Chinga, have you lost your mind? June 17th. The year of Tianqi. What? June 17th of the Tianqi year. Sister, don't you remember? That was the day when the Huayan family came to ask for my hand in marriage. If it weren't for your jealousy and your interference between Huayan and me, I would have become the wife of a marquis by now. Instead, I ended up marrying this insensitive, uncouth man. My sister laughed coldly. Her eyes filled with hatred. I stood there in shock for a moment before I remembered who Huayan was. Huayan. Su Huayan. The young marquis of the Yonglin Marquis mansion. I thought my sister had given up on him on the day he married someone else. I thought she had moved on and let go of the past with the general. But she had been harboring this all along. She had been biding her time, waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. Why? If you hate me, that's one thing. But why harm my entire family? Our daughter is only 3 years old. She was still thinking about you yesterday, saying she wanted to give you the Eastern Pearl as a birthday gift. My sister froze for a moment, then screamed hysterically. Lin Qinghuan, you interfered with my feelings and ruined my happiness for a lifetime. How dare you still have a happy family? I looked at the stranger in front of me, unable to believe it. Our sisterly bond couldn't even compare to a man. Sister, do you know? What? I spoke softly, and Lin Chinga didn't hear clearly, so she leaned in curiously. A golden hairpin pierced her chest, and blood gushed out. I was also stabbed to death by the soldiers who rushed over. When I opened my eyes again, my husband was in the study, asking me if I was cold. Wife, it's getting cold. Have some ginger tea to warm yourself. I forced myself to stay calm and held his hand. Our fingertips touched briefly, and the familiar warmth reminded me that this wasn't a dream. I had been reborn. I was dazed, then heard my husband speak hesitantly. My wife, Chinga, just asked me for 5,000 taels of silver. She usually asks for silver, but never in such a manner today. When I asked her where it was for, she stammered and refused to answer. This is rather suspicious. I glanced at the date on the ledger, June 17th of the Tianqi year. How could it not be suspicious? Today is the day Lin Chinga and the young marquis eloped. Before long, Lin Chinga rushed over to accuse me first. Xia Xiqing. I knew you had ulterior motives and couldn't stand our sisterly bond. I asked you for some silver. And you reported it to my sister? The money my sister earned isn't for me to spend. But for you. Her useless husband? After saying that, she leaned close to me and started to act spoiled. I pushed her hand away. Lin Chinga, you're past the age of marriage. Yet you still speak so recklessly. Sister, you're yelling at me. You're yelling at me for a son-in-law? Father, mother, why did you abandon Chinga and not take me with you? Let me stay in this world to endure my sister's humiliation. Lin Chinga feigned grief and burst into tears. Lin Chinga was frail and often ill. When her parents were alive, they always doted on her. Even in their dying words, they spoke of her. Qinghuan, an older sister is like a mother. Chinga is your only relative in this world. You must take good care of her. For those words, I have waited 13 years. Lin Chinga was frail and sickly. So I traveled across the entire Great Qing Empire to find the best doctors to treat her. Her skin was delicate. So I specially traveled to Shu province to purchase silk brocade worth 500 taels per bolt. I feared that marrying into another household would cause my younger sister to suffer. So I arranged for a son-in-law to marry into our family. Even after having a daughter, my love for Lin Chinga remained unchanged. Yet she betrayed me for a man, conspiring with bandits to kill my entire family. On the other hand, Xia Xiqing risked his life to protect me when the bandits entered the house, and was stabbed over a dozen times trying to save me. The spurting blood splattered on my skin, the searing heat burning through my flesh, a memory I will never forget. Xia Xiqing, seeing this, bowed his head in apology. When my parents were alive, Lin Chinga was always like this. She would cry, and everything would be brought to her. She waited for me to bow my head, as she always did. But this time, she was wrong. Lin Chinga, if you truly believe I have mistreated you and caused you suffering, and you wish to go to your parents to complain and have them discipline me, then go ahead. My tone was cold, and I looked at Lin Chinga as if she were a stranger. Seeing this, Lin Chinga dared not cause any more trouble and ran out of the study crying. This time, she was truly crying. After Lin Chinga left, I instructed Xia Xiqing to summon the managers of all the households. From now on, without my token, no matter what Lin Chinga says, you must not give her any money. Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper's eyes lit up in astonishment. Master, do you know how long we've waited for you to say that? They rushed to me, each complaining about their own grievances. It was then that I realized what Lin Chinga had been doing behind my back. She had been using her influence to protect her close friends, going around the Lin family's shops and running up debts. Lin Chinga threatened the shopkeepers not to report to me, or else she would slander them first and have them expelled from the Lin family. I rubbed my temples. Had someone compile a ledger of Lin Chinga's expenses and handed it to me? Then added 200 taels of silver to each shopkeeper as compensation. 200 taels of silver was half a year's wages for the Lin family shopkeepers. They gratefully accepted it. But compared to the money, they valued my attitude toward Lin Chinga even more. Merchants have keen instincts. In the corners Lin Chinga didn't know about, the sky protecting her was collapsing. Lin Chinga cried in her room for a while. Seeing that I didn't go to comfort her, she ordered her maidservant to demand silver from the various shops. The maidservant was turned away. Lin Chinga didn't believe it and went to ask in person. The result was the same, she returned empty-handed. Back at the Lin mansion, Lin Chinga started to lose her temper. She didn't even blink at the 200 taels of silver for a pair of glass bottles, just throwing them on the ground and smashing them to pieces. You're just a bully. I spit on you. When I become the wife of a marquis, you'll beg me on your knees to spend your money. But I won't even look at you. I didn't go inside. I was just listening outside the door. When Lin Chinga went to Bai Ma Temple to pray for blessings, she happened to encounter the injured Su Huiyan and brought him to the pharmacy to be treated. She was beautiful and had a melodious voice, and Su Huiyan fell in love with her at first sight. However, Su Huiyan was already engaged to the daughter of the Minister of Rites. Moreover, the Lin family was merely a wealthy merchant family. As a scholar, how could Su Huiyan possibly marry Lin Chinga? When I found out about their feelings, I didn't hesitate to refuse. I explained the situation at the Marquis' mansion to Lin Chinga. The young Marquis of Yongnan may sound impressive, but his entire family relies on the dowry from the old matriarch to maintain their superficial prestige. They're living off their inheritance and will surely suffer hardships if she marries into that family. You've grown accustomed to fine foods and luxurious fabrics. What will the Marquis' mansion have to offer you? Lin Chinga dismissed this. It's precisely because the Marquis' mansion is short on funds that I can bring my dowry and make them grateful. I tried to persuade her, but my words couldn't match Su Huiyan's single sentence. Chinga, my grandmother opposes our marriage. But don't worry, I'll elope with you. Those words made Lin Chinga feel that Su Huiyan was deeply in love with her. If he truly loves me, he will marry me. Lin Chinga, who had never managed a household, knew nothing of the cost of daily necessities. She didn't know that love could be worn away by the mundane details of daily life. She only knew Su Huiyan's sweet words and remembered their love that moved heaven and earth. Lin Chinga saved some money, which she didn't touch. Instead, she took the jewelry I had given her in the past to the pawn shop and pawned it for 2,000 taels of silver. While the Lin family was asleep, Lin Chinga opened the back door and ran toward her Su Huiyan. My beloved, I have come to marry you. I stood by the window, witnessing everything. Xie Xiqing looked in the direction they had gone and asked me, wife, to be married as a wife, to run away as a concubine. Are you really not going to pursue him? This was Lin Chinga's choice. The consequences should be borne by her alone. 2 months later, Su Huiyan was brought back to the Marquis mansion. It was said that a delicate young woman was following him. Su Huiyan knelt before the old matriarch and swore to marry that woman. The two sides argued fiercely, but the old matriarch refused to budge. She only ordered someone to prepare a guest room and gave Su Huiyan 3 months to make up his mind. For this, Lin Chinga specially sent someone to deliver a message to me to show off. Lin Qinghuan, I am not one to forget past favors. I am deeply grateful for all you did for me in the past. Soon, Huiyan will come to the Lin mansion to propose marriage and take me as his wife. You must prepare 100 dowry items for me. Make sure I become the most glorious bride in the capital. While I am not yet the mistress of the Marquis mansion, there is still a chance to turn things around. Xie Xiqing finished reading the last sentence with a dark expression. He looked at me with concern. Wife, we should discuss this matter carefully. Carefully? What a joke! I tore the letter into pieces, knelt before my parents' spirits, and burned it for them. Xie Xiqing's brows relaxed, and he sighed in relief. I am Lin Chinga's only sister. He feared that in the presence of our blood relatives, I might lose my usual composure. Fortunately, I did not. But he didn't know. The person who loved Lin Chinga the most was already dead. Dead in that blood-soaked night. Killed by Lin Chinga's own hands. 3 days later, I brought back a young beggar who had sold himself to bury his father. That beggar was none other than Lu Sun, the general whom Lin Chinga had married in her previous life. Before he rose to prominence, Lu Sun had been a homeless beggar, in a dispute with a wealthy merchant over the burial of his foster father. He accidentally killed the man and was exiled to the frontier, where he was conscripted into the army. Through a series of twists of fate, he ended up in the military camp, fought his way through battles, and eventually became a general. Lin Chinga despised his lowly origins and deemed him inferior to Su Huiyan in terms of nobility. But I have seen Lu Xun. I know he would rather endure humiliation than betray the kindness of his foster father. Such a man of honor and loyalty is far superior to the self-proclaimed playboy Su Huiyan. I paid 20 taels of silver to bury Lu Xun's foster father and brought him back to the Lin mansion, hiring him as the martial arts instructor. Lu Xun had traveled the martial arts world with his foster father for many years, learning genuine skills. On one occasion, he fought with such ferocity that he charged at the enemy commander with a silver spear, striking him down and sending the Turks into a panic. They dubbed him the Demon General. I do not expect Lu Xun to train the Lin mansion servants into warriors like himself. It is sufficient for them to master basic self-defense skills. Thanks to Lu Xun, the bodyguards in the mansion grew stronger day by day. One night, I heard commotion outside the door. Those familiar bandits had arrived early. They used the moonlight to sneak into the Lin mansion. But this time, under Lu Xun's guidance, the Lin family had made thorough preparations. As soon as they entered the gate, they fell into the traps that had been set. Those at the bottom were pierced by broken blades, bleeding profusely. Those above tried to climb out but had their skulls crushed by falling rocks. Kill! Kill every last one of these bandits. A torrential downpour poured down. It was impossible to tell where the blood ended and the tears began. A thunderous clap echoed through the sky. A bolt of lightning struck beside me. Lightning struck beside me, and I suddenly realized that the people who had been smiling and killing the bandits alongside me were now unrecognizable, lying in pools of blood. Zhong Shu, Fu Bo, Shi Kei, my husband, wife, don't be afraid. It's a dream, a nightmare. Xia Xiqing lit the candles inside the house and gently woke me up. It was just a dream. I clutched my chest, gasping for breath, and it took me a long time to come to my senses from the nightmare. Xia Xiqing buried his head in my neck, his voice muffled. Wife, do you know how scary you were just now? For a moment, I thought you wanted to kill someone. Wife, if there's anything wrong, just tell me directly. I'm your husband, I'll share the burden with you. Wife, I'm not the jealous type. If you truly like that Lu Xun, I don't mind. I had just regained my composure when those words startled me into sitting up. What? People on the street are saying that you've been bewitched by that Lu Xun and that you want to take him as your lover. I said. Why does Lu Xun look at me so strangely? They must think I have ulterior motives. This won't do. The next morning, I found Lu Xun and laid it all out. Lu Xun, don't panic. I have no ulterior motives toward you. It's just that my parents passed away early, leaving me and my younger sister. My sister has been weak and sickly since childhood, and I worry about her suffering. After I came of age, I gave everything I had to my sister, but she eventually abandoned me for a man. When I saw you willing to endure humiliation to repay your foster father's kindness, I knew you were a man of honor and loyalty. I also realized that not everyone in this world is heartless and treacherous. So, Lu Xun, can I deny you as my sworn brother? Lu Xun paused for a moment, a flash of understanding in his eyes. He then bowed to me. Elder sister, please accept my bow. I made a grand affair out of taking Lu Xun as my sworn brother, and everyone knew about it. The news spread like wildfire and soon reached Lin Qingga's ears. On the day of the family reunion banquet, Lin Qingga arrived with 2 maidservants. She walked up and slapped Lu Xun across the face. What kind of bastard are you to dare claim kinship with the Lin family? I invited all the prominent figures in the city to this banquet. Disturbed by Lin Qingga's outburst, everyone's faces turned awkward, and the mood soured. Lin Qingga, spoiled and pampered, had never learned to read people's expressions. Seeing the silence at the table, she thought everyone was afraid of her. Lin Qingga grew even more arrogant and raised her hand to overturn the table in front of her. Back when she was in the Lin family, Lin Qingga was just a bit naive. However, Su Huiyan's vows to marry her before the old matriarch of the home mansion had made her believe she could become the home mansion's mistress, causing her arrogance to grow even more. Not to mention Lu Xun. Even the few scholars present didn't catch her eye. Upon seeing me arrive, Lin Qingge grew even more arrogant. Sister, it's been months since we last met, and your taste has truly deteriorated. You'd even consider such a lowly individual as your own kin. Lu Xun was loyal and righteous, certain treacherous and disloyal bloodlines naturally couldn't compare. Lin Qingge had come to intimidate Lu Xun, but she hadn't expected me to publicly humiliate her in front of others. She was furious, stormed off angrily, and before leaving, didn't forget to leave a harsh parting remark. Go ahead and leave, Lin Qinghuan. One day, you'll beg me on your knees. After Lin Qingge left, I raised my cup to apologize to the guests present. Lu Xun looked at me with an apologetic expression. Sister, it was my fault for causing a rift between you sisters. Any relationship can only last if both parties are willing. Lu Xun, if it were you, would you choose your parents who abandoned you, or the foster father who raised you for 18 years? Lu Xun remained silent, but from his expression, I knew he understood. Lin Qingge was confused. On her way back to the marquis' mansion, she bought a new outfit. As soon as she stepped through the main gate, she heard the old matriarch of the marquis' mansion ask her, "Future marquis' wife, you really are so grand." Lin Qingge thought the old matriarch was complimenting her and blushed shyly. "Grandmother, you finally acknowledge my identity." One sentence left the old matriarch speechless. Having dealt with clever people all her life, she rarely encountered someone so foolish. The dragon-headed walking stick struck the ground heavily. If you wish to remain in the marquis' mansion, shut yourself in your room and reflect on your mistakes today. Lin Qingge racked her brains but couldn't figure out what she had done wrong. The old matriarch ordered that Lin Qingge not be allowed to eat. Lin Qingge waited and waited, finally enduring until Su Huiyan returned to the mansion. Upon hearing news of Su Huiyan, she rushed to him, grabbing his hand and pouting. "Onling, what do you think grandmother means?" Su Huiyan wasn't particularly clever, only slightly smarter than Lin Qingge. After hearing Lin Qingge's words, he wanted to call her an idiot, but facing that beautiful face, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Instead, he embraced her and comforted her, explaining the situation. Among the guests your elder sister invited today was the great scholar Jiang Huizhou. This man despises the arrogant behavior of high-ranking officials. By this point, Lin Qingge could understand perfectly well. She spoke with tears in her eyes. Lin Qinghuan never mentioned any of this to me. Qingge has such a pure heart, how could my sister be so cruel? Lin Qingge nodded in agreement. Su Huiyan was right. I deliberately lured Lin Qingge there. But I didn't want Lin Qingge to be humiliated in front of others, I just wanted to sever her future with Lu Xun. Lin Qingge has a delicate and pitiful appearance, the kind of beauty that men find most appealing. I recall that Lu Xun and Lin Qingge's feelings for each other began when Lu Xun was in dire straits, and Lin Qingge threw him a piece of meat pie she had grown tired of eating. That meat pie saved Lu Xun's life when he was on the brink of death. Lin Qingge's delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly, leaving an indelible impression on Lu Xun's heart. After he became a general, he went out of his way to arrange a grand wedding procession and came to ask for her hand in marriage. But now, it was I who buried Lu Xun's father, and it was I who took him in as my adopted brother and spared him from a life of hardship. Without the debt of a past life, Lin Qingge was nothing more than an outsider who disrupted his wedding banquet. A selfish, ungrateful traitor. A farce that severed any possibility between them. Lin Qingge's future prospects were shattered. By her own hand. Shattered by her arrogance. Thanks to Su Huiyan, Lin Qingge sent more letters. Every word was filled with insults, accusing me of having evil intentions. Xia Xiqing only read one before he couldn't continue. The rest were piled up in the study. I had no time to read Lin Qingge's letters. The shop was bustling with business. Calculating the time, Lu Sun should be heading to the military camp to enlist. Ah, Sun. I know you are exceptionally talented. If you were born in a time of chaos, you would surely be a great leader. Now that the borders are in turmoil, it is a time when capable people are needed. The Lin Mansion is just a small household, but it can be your support. Do not let it become your shackle. Go. Ah, Sun. When you return, I will be at the Drunken Immortal Pavilion to celebrate your victory with a feast. Lu Sun is human, and humans have desires and ambitions. Life in the Lin Mansion is comfortable, but Lu Sun feels somewhat out of place. He has no want for food or clothing, and everyone in the mansion treats him too well. Comfort leads to complacency. Lu Sun is an eagle soaring through the skies. He should seize the opportunity to rise higher. Over the past month, he has been looking for a chance to explain himself to me, but the words lingered on his lips, and he hesitated. Such thoughts sounded too ungrateful. He never expected that I would see through his intentions and his ambitions. Lu Sun bowed respectfully. I will not disappoint your expectations. Elder sister. The military camp is far away. I will only see you to the city gates. Lu Sun. The rest of the journey is up to you. Lu Sun left, carrying 2 bundles. The bundles were filled with dried rations, meat jerky, outer garments, and 20 taels of silver. There was also a bronze breastplate. On the battlefield, swords and spears have no eyes. Lu Sun must survive, live safely. He must become a general and return to protect the Lin Mansion. Lu Sun left, but training at the mansion continued. The Lin Mansion was like a river, flowing calmly and slowly. The years were peaceful, and nothing was amiss. However, Lin Qingge at the Marquis Mansion was not so fortunate. Lin Qingge had been staying at the Marquis Mansion for 2 months. 2 months was not enough to change a person, but it was enough to sour a relationship. Lin Qingge could clearly feel that Su Huyan's attitude toward her was becoming more and more perfunctory. In the past, when the Marquis's wife would argue with her and take the opportunity to mock her, she would just throw herself into Su Huyan's arms and act cute, and Su Huyan would argue with the Marquis's wife. But recently, when she confided in Su Huyan about how the Marquis's wife had mocked her for coming from a humble background and lacking proper etiquette, Su Huyan didn't comfort her. Not only that, but he actually defended the Marquis's wife. Qingge, even if she scolds you, she's my mother and your future mother-in-law. Can't you understand that? Don't bother me with such trivial matters. Lin Qingge was so angry that she scratched Su Huyan's face. The next day, Su Huyan went to court with injuries and was teased by his colleagues, leaving him furious. When he returned home that evening, the lady of the home mansion criticized Lin Qingge again in front of him. I told you, that lowly merchant's daughter knows nothing about etiquette. She made you look so foolish in court. You shouldn't have. Before the lady of the Marquis's mansion could finish, Su Huyan interrupted. Mother, Qingge is the wife I have chosen. When she marries into the Marquis's mansion, I don't want to see you 2 women quarreling. For my sake, please be more tolerant of Qingge. Okay? Su Huyan also agreed with the lady of the Marquis's mansion in his heart. However, he couldn't let go of Lin Qingge. Moreover, he was someone who couldn't stand being hard on others. The words of mother and son were overheard by Lin Qingge outside the door. She ignored the murderous glances from the maids and the lady of the Marquis's mansion and hugged Su Huyan in front of everyone. Calling him Onlang, Su Huyan stepped in to mediate, and Lin Qingge and the lady of the home mansion finally managed to get along for a while. Lin Qingge followed Su Huyan's advice and treated the lady of the home mansion with the same respect as her own mother. She served her tea, massaged her legs, and copied sutras for her. Such small favors were something even a maid could do. How could the lady of the home mansion remember Lin Chinga's kindness? Under the prompting of the maidservants in the room, Lin Chinga finally remembered to show respect to the lady of the home mansion. But the silver she had brought with her when she eloped was almost gone. As Lin Chinga was worrying, she heard Su Huiyan suggest, "Your eldest sister is a renowned merchant in the city. If you don't have it here, how could she not have it there? But I offended my eldest sister when I was with Lang. You and she are sisters from the same mother. Sisters are close-hearted. If you are isolated and helpless in the marquis' mansion, being bullied by others, could she just stand by and do nothing?" The implication was clear: use the suffering meat tactic. Upon hearing this, Lin Chinga threw herself into Su Huiyan's arms and pouted, "And Lang, you are truly brilliant." The next day, just as dawn was breaking, Zhongshu heard someone knocking on the door. When he opened it, he saw Lin Chinga, dressed in plain clothes, lying at the door. "Zhongshu," he said before fainting. After all, she was a girl he had known since childhood. Zhongshu hesitated for only a moment before bringing her into the mansion. After much consideration, Zhongshu decided to tell me about Lin Chinga. "Miss, would you like to go see the second miss?" When I arrived, Lin Chinga was lying in the side room, her eyebrows and eyes a pallor I had never seen before. No wonder Zhongshu was so heartbroken. If it weren't for the pain of my family's massacre in my previous life, I too would be heartbroken by her desperate ploy. Upon seeing me, Lin Chinga deliberately rubbed her eyes, stared blankly for a moment, then clung tightly to me. "Sister, Chinga has missed you so much. Sister." Her voice was filled with the joy of a long-awaited reunion. I said nothing, quietly waiting for Lin Chinga's next move. During this time, Zhongshu brought a bowl of seafood congee. Upon seeing it, Lin Chinga burst into tears. "Woo-woo. Home is still the best. Big sister, you don't know how cruel those people at the home mansion are. They never gave me a single kind word. Even to eat a bowl of seafood congee, I had to get the old matriarch's approval." Cough cough. "Second miss. This seafood congee is for the eldest miss. Your congee is over here," Zhongshu said, bringing over a bowl of plain congee. I took the seafood congee and drank it slowly. "Oh, isn't this the life you wanted? When I advised you to let go of Su Huiyan, you said you'd rather eat plain porridge for the rest of your life than be apart from Lang. Now that you're actually drinking plain porridge, you don't want it anymore?" Lin Chinga's face turned slightly red, but she didn't argue with me like before. Instead, she began to sob. "Sister, I was wrong." Just as Zhongshu thought the sisters' relationship might improve, Lin Chinga spoke up again. "But sister, I am carrying Lang's child. If you don't help me, I have no choice but to die. How can I help you? Sister, I knew you were the best. Now the lady of the home mansion won't let me in because she looks down on my lowly status and thinks I can't bring them any benefits. But I've heard from reliable sources in the marquis' mansion that all of their expenses are covered by the old lady's dowry. If I bring more dowry than the old lady did, I will definitely be able to control the marquis' mansion. Then, I can use the marquis' mansion to make connections with more high-ranking officials and nobles. And the Lin family will have someone to rely on." "How much dowry do you want?" The old matriarch had 80 dowry items when she married. As a junior, I shouldn't outdo her. So let's make it 68 for good luck. Before she could finish, I slapped her across the face. "Lin Chinga, have you lost your mind? To engage in an illicit affair without a matchmaker and dare to conceive a child with another man? Do you know how others will look at you if this child is born? And what about the Lin family's daughters? Are you so shameless that you want the Lin family's daughters to share your disgrace?" Lin Chinga was stunned by the slap. She knew I had always pampered her. As long as she played the victim in front of me, I would feel sorry for her and grant her requests. Before coming here, she had considered every possible outcome. Maybe I would get angry and nag her like before. Even in the worst-case scenario, I would consider her pregnancy and think of the child in her womb, and give her a dowry of 10 carriages. She never imagined I would lay a hand on her. Sister, I'm your own flesh and blood. How could you bear to hit me? I see now that I didn't hit you enough, which is why you've become so spoiled. All right. All right. This family has no place for me. Today, none of you can stop me. Let me throw myself to my death at the Lin Mansion. When I reach the underworld, I'll let our parents see how you treated me. Lin Chinga said this and charged toward the pillar. She had thought that even if I didn't stop her, Zhong Shu, who had watched over her since childhood, would intervene. But to her surprise, Zhong Shu didn't come over. Lin Chinga was furious. But she had already said everything she wanted to say. She tilted her head and collapsed against the pillar. She slept until evening. Lin Chinga hadn't slept so soundly in a long time. It was so comfortable she didn't want to wake up. When she opened her eyes and saw me sitting by the bed, she started causing a scene again. Lin Qinghuan, now that you see me and the baby in my womb are safe and sound, are you disappointed? Lin Chinga, stop pretending. The doctor just took your pulse, you're fine. And you're not pregnant. I know exactly what you're up to. Lin Qinghuan, do you think I'm watching a clown? Is this amusing? Shadows flickered outside the door as people from the mansion gathered. Seeing this, Lin Chinga changed her expression and slapped herself across the face. It's all my fault. Sister, please, just help Chinga this once. Lin Chinga threatened me in a voice only she and I could hear. Even if you don't help me, I'll ruin your reputation. I'll make sure everyone in the mansion knows what kind of person you are. I followed her lead, opened the door in front of everyone, and let Xie Xiqing read aloud the letter Lu Sun had sent. Every word was filled with Lu Sun's longing for the Lin family. Lin Chinga, do you know why I took Lu Sun as my sworn brother? Because he is loyal and righteous. Unlike you, who is heartless and treacherous. Who are you trying to fool? Lin Chinga refused to admit defeat. So I had Xie Xiqing read a few more letters. Every word was filled with insults and contempt. The servants couldn't bear to listen anymore. Lin Chinga, does this sound familiar? This is the letter you sent me. It contains mockery, insults, humiliation, anger, and scolding, but not a single word of concern or worry from a family member. How dare you call yourself my relative and demand my dowry? Do you even deserve it? From now on, no one is allowed to open the door for Lin Chinga without my permission. I have ordered that all the clothes and jewelry Lin Chinga used to wear in the mansion be thrown to her. As for the money she saved privately, it has already been confiscated by me. Things have come to this point, and even the people of the Lin family can see that there is no possibility of reconciliation between me and Lin Chinga. The people of the whole mansion, unaware of the circumstances, only saw the furniture and decorations being transported to the home mansion and assumed that Lin Chinga had become wealthy. So they began to flatter and curry favor with her. The maidservants served her diligently, hoping for a few gold seeds as a reward. They waited and waited. For an entire month. Not only were there no golden melon seeds, but not even a single silver coin was given. They began to gossip, saying that Lin Chinga was stingy and poor yet pretended to be wealthy. When Lin Chinga heard this, she nearly tore the maid's mouth apart. The maid wasn't one to back down either. She deliberately went to the home mansion's mistress to make a complaint. The marquis's wife had always disliked Lin Chinga, and now she seized the opportunity to severely punish her. Seizing her cloud-patterned brocade, Lin Chinga's lifestyle in the Lin mansion far surpassed that of the marquis's mansion. The marquis's wife had never enjoyed such luxury. Having obtained the cloud-patterned brocade, she began scheming to seize more of Lin Chinga's belongings. Su Huiyan was busy with official duties and had no time to deal with such trivial matters. Lin Qingge watched as the jewelry in her jewelry box grew increasingly sparse, and her lips swelled into 2 large blisters. If the young lady truly cared about these items, she might as well give the lady of the home mansion 2 pieces of jewelry as a gesture of goodwill. A month ago, Lin Qingge would have scoffed at such a suggestion. But times had changed, and Lin Qingge knew I wouldn't spoil her anymore. Without the Lin family, she could only hope to marry into the marquis family as soon as possible. She couldn't afford to offend the marquis' wife anymore. She was counting on the marquis' wife to support her. The next day, Lin Qingge got up early and specially invited the marquis' wife to go shopping. Why not take advantage of a free opportunity? The marquise of the home mansion put on a reluctant facade, but her heart was overjoyed. The two, each harboring their own ulterior motives, rode the carriage all the way to Phoenician. Phoenician was the Lin family's jewelry shop. The shop assistant at Phoenician was very enthusiastic, not only explaining the craftsmanship and materials of the jewelry in detail but also offering suggestions for clothing coordination. Even the tea served was top-quality Pre-Rain Longjing. The lady of the home mansion was very satisfied. She thought that even if Lin Qingge had 1,000 faults, it wasn't bad that she could enjoy some peace and quiet. Lin Qingge was also satisfied. Family matters should not be discussed outside the family, and the Lin family shop certainly didn't know about the grudge between her and me. She wouldn't have to pay for the jewelry today. After leaving the jewelry shop, she decided to take the lady of the home mansion to the Lin family's tailor shop and pastry shop. Borrowing flowers to offer to Buddha, every penny saved is a penny earned. Lin Qingge had changed. A girl who wasn't spoiled by anyone eventually had to learn to be thrifty. In the blink of an eye, the lady of the home mansion had already taken 2 large boxes of pearl hairpins. The two finished eating the pastries and were about to leave. Before they reached the door, the young shop assistant who had served them earlier stopped them, smiling broadly and holding out his hand. Lady Ho, these jewelry items total 876 taels of silver. For the sake of the second young miss, I'll round it down to 870 taels. What do you think of this? Lady Ho remained calm, pulling Lin Qingge forward. Lin Qingge covered her face and laughed. It's me, Lin Qingge, the second young miss of the Lin family merchants. The manager of Phoenician had just entered the shop when he heard Lin Qingge's words and laughed. The Lin family merchants only has one owner. Those around them began to gossip. The lady of the home mansion felt utterly humiliated, and the jewelry in her arms felt scorching hot. I suddenly remembered that these jewelry pieces were given to me by Huiyan. I don't want them anymore. Saying this, the lady of the home mansion returned the golden hairpin and pearl flowers. The young clerk checked and found no issues, so he didn't say anything. However, a pair of jade bracelets carved with dragons and phoenixes had been bumped by the lady of the home mansion, damaging their appearance, so they couldn't be returned. I'll wrap this pair of bracelets for you. They total 200 taels. 200 taels? Lin Qingge's expression darkened. I left in a hurry this morning and forgot my money pouch at home. Please put it on my account. All right. Shall I charge it to the marquis' account? Upon hearing that it would be charged to Su Huiyan's account, the marquis' wife's expression changed abruptly. Lin Qingge, what do you mean? Are you using my son's salary to treat me? Are you trying to take credit for something you didn't do? Lin Qingge was also furious. As the two were about to argue, a woman suddenly spoke up. Shopkeeper, put these bracelets on my account for now. Hearing someone come to her rescue, the marquise's wife looked over. Upon seeing the woman's appearance, she couldn't hide her joy. The woman was none other than Xia Jijun, the daughter of the Minister of Rights, who was engaged to Su Huiyan. The lady of the home mansion had always looked down on Lin Qingge. Now that Xia Jijun had stepped in to save the day, the slightest bit of goodwill she had toward Lin Qingge vanished. I heard that Jijun likes calligraphy and painting. Recently, Huayan acquired a few pieces of calligraphy and painting. Since I know nothing about art, why don't you go to the mansion for a while and take a look at the paintings for me? Upon hearing the name Ji Jun and seeing the expression on the lady of the home mansion, Lin Qingge knew exactly who Ji Jun was. She was about to utter a few sarcastic remarks. But before she could, the lady of the home mansion pushed her aside with a single motion. She watched as Xia Ji Jun boarded the home mansion's carriage, leaving her alone behind. Lin Qingge chased after them, looking disheveled. By the time she arrived at the home mansion, Xia Ji Jun had already been sitting there for a while. Lin Qingge was furious. But before she could vent her anger, she heard the lady of the home mansion say, "You're from a lowly family, you don't know any manners. Hurry up and brew some tea for Miss Xia." Lin Qingge was seething with anger but had no outlet for it. But she also knew that this was the marquis's mansion, where she couldn't act recklessly. By the time Xia Ji Jun had finished admiring the paintings and calligraphy, it was already dark. The marquis's wife took the opportunity to invite her to stay for dinner. After much persuasion, they waited until Su Huyan had finished court. "Huyan, this is Miss Xia. Won't you come and meet her?" The marquis's wife deliberately sent Lin Qingge away to create an opportunity for Xia Ji Jun and Su Huyan. Su Huyan looked at Xia Ji Jun in front of him and was somewhat surprised. He had never imagined that the girl he was betrothed to since childhood would be so gentle, kind-hearted, and understanding. Back then, rumors in the capital claimed that the daughter of the Minister of Revenue was fierce and jealous, resembling a demon. Now that he met her in person, he realized the rumors were unfounded. Xia Ji Jun's demeanor was gentle and considerate, and her every smile and frown was charming and adorable. As he drew closer, a fragrant scent wafted toward him. Su Huyan couldn't help but feel his heart race. Before he could have any further interaction with Xia Ji Jun, he was interrupted by Lin Qingge, who had rushed over. Lin Qingge threw herself into his arms, crying tears that fell like raindrops. Lin Qingge had scalded her hand while making tea. "Su Huyan isn't a doctor, what can he do to help?" the lady of the home mansion said as she tried to pull Lin Qingge away. Su Huyan, unusually, didn't speak up for Lin Qingge. Instead, Xia Ji Jun, an outsider, came to Lin Qingge's defense. A woman's burn is a serious matter. If not treated properly, it could leave a scar and disfigure her for life. Ji Jun's family has snowy anointment, which won't leave scars. I'll have someone deliver it to the mansion tomorrow. Xia Ji Jun's thoughtfulness pleased the lady of the home mansion even more. Su Huyan looked at Xia Ji Jun and suddenly had an idea. Marrying Xia Ji Jun as a wife, with one wife and one concubine, would be a good choice. Lin Qingge noticed Su Huyan's attitude and gaze, and flew into a rage on the spot. "Get out! The home mansion doesn't welcome you, and I don't need your so-called kindness. Who knows what else you might have added to that ointment." Su Huyan instinctively slapped Lin Qingge. Lin Qingge covered her face in disbelief and ran away. No one paid her any mind. Everyone gathered around Xia Ji Jun. As night fell, Su Huyan escorted Xia Ji Jun out of the mansion. He wanted to accompany her further, but Xia Ji Jun stopped him. "Young Master Su, please stay here. I have my own carriage to take me home. Now that we are both unmarried, we must prioritize our reputations." After saying this, Xia Ji Jun boarded the carriage without looking back. Su Huyan and the lady of the marquis mansion were even more satisfied with Xia Ji Jun's behavior. She knew her place, knew when to advance and when to retreat, and valued a woman's reputation. Such a person was the perfect choice for the marquis mansion's matriarch. This mother and son were thinking quite highly of themselves. But they had no idea how disgusted Xia Ji Jun felt once she was back in the carriage. "Stop wiping it. Your hands are red. Qing Huan's sister. How come you are so wise, while your younger sister is as dull as a pig, unable to discern the coldness of human relationships?" Xia Jijun said with a sigh, regretting the pair of jade bracelets. What's there to regret? Those bracelets had flaws to begin with. It was just that the shopkeeper showed them too many pieces. And the two of them got carried away. Sister Qinghuan is truly good at planning. No matter how good the plan, it can't compare to human nature. The marquis' mansion is not good enough for you. I deliberately planned for Xia Jijun to come to your rescue today. A month ago, Magpie was buying vegetables and found that the price of lotus root had risen sharply at the vegetable stall. She thought the farmer was deliberately overcharging her. So she argued with him. When I heard her complain, I recalled that lotus root prices had also risen for a period in my previous life. At the time, no one took it seriously. They only thought the farmers were trying to make a quick profit. A year later, when epidemics broke out and people were struggling to survive, everyone realized something was wrong. Lotus root is produced in Azhou, a region rich in water resources. However, frequent floods had reduced lotus root production, and coupled with transportation costs, the prices skyrocketed. At the time, merchants were only concerned with profiteering from lotus root and failed to recognize the disaster caused by the floods. After the floods came the plague. The prefect of Azhou, despite knowing about the suffering of the flood victims, concealed the truth and had the bodies hastily buried. During the early stages of the plague, he also concealed the situation. Time and again, disasters accumulated. In my previous life, the Lin family's merchant house was severely affected by the epidemic, suffering countless casualties. They were suppressed by unscrupulous merchants hoarding medicinal herbs and eventually fell into decline. Upon hearing the magpie mention this, I immediately took it seriously, recalled the medicinal formulas and countermeasures from my previous life, compiled them into a book, and hoped to present it to the officials, appealing to the imperial court to draw the attention of relevant officials and prevent such a tragedy from recurring. Although the Great Prosperity Dynasty valued commercial development, the rigid class system prevailed. Without evidence to support the epidemic claims, no one dared to report on my behalf. I had no choice but to secretly procure medicinal herbs, purchasing them in batches from different regions to avoid drawing attention and causing panic among merchants who might hoard supplies, disrupting the normal lives of the people. It was during this time that Xia Jijun approached me. Xia Jijun was the daughter of the minister of the secretariat, but her uncle was the chief physician of the imperial hospital. She had always been interested in pharmacology and had opened her own pharmacy. Her intuition was sharp, and she noticed something amiss in the depletion of medicinal herbs. Through her investigations, she eventually traced the source back to me. She questioned me about the reason for purchasing the herbs. We exchanged information and found each other trustworthy. I didn't hide anything, sharing my suspicions and precautions, and even wrote down the methods for preventing and treating epidemics from my memory for Xia Jijun to review. Xia Jijun took the prescriptions to the Imperial Medical Academy, refined them, and developed a new formula. She also rephrased my suspicions about the floods and warned Xia Shangshu. Xia Jijun and I felt like we had known each other for ages and grew even closer. She knew I was Lin Qingge's older sister and didn't suspect or scheme against me. She just felt sorry for me. To abandon an older sister who had done so much for you for such a man, it's unforgivable. On the surface, we had no contact. When Lin Qingge came to Fengxian, I would sit in the second-floor tea room with Xia Jijun, sipping tea. Upon learning of Lin Qingge's arrival, I deliberately pushed Xia Jijun aside. The affair between Su Huyan and Lin Qingge had made Xia Jijun a laughingstock in the capital, and the fact that Su Huyan and Lin Qingge could not sleep soundly day or night, regretting their decision, was a consensus between the two of us. Xia Jijun appeared like a savior, accompanying the lady of the home mansion to visit the mansion. The gentle and considerate Xia Jijun was a thorn in the side of Lin Qingge and Su Huyan. Their feelings would be doomed to an early demise because of Xia Jijun's appearance. Lin Qingge was highly sensitive to changes in her emotions. As a woman, she was acutely aware of the way Su Huiyan looked at Xia Jijun. Curiosity mixed with admiration, that was how Su Huiyan looked at her back then. She endured it, watching Su Huiyan eagerly await Xia Jijun's arrival and discuss poetry and literature with her. Meanwhile, she stood by like a maid, pouring tea and serving water. Over time, Xia Jijun could barely stand it anymore. Seeing Su Huiyan's hypocritical face every day was driving her crazy. I advised her, if you're tired of it, find an excuse to decline and avoid him. After Xia Jijun stopped going to the home mansion, Su Huiyan grew even more obsessed with her. Men are so pathetic. Every time he spoke with Lin Qingge, his eyes were fixed on that charming young woman. Xia Jijun's body carried a faint scent of medicinal herbs, which was soothing to the soul. But Lin Qingge's body was enveloped in a sweet, cloying floral fragrance, vulgar to the core. One night, while drunk, Su Huiyan inadvertently revealed his true feelings. Lin Qingge listened, her nails nearly broken from biting them. But in the end, she pretended not to hear. Lin Qingge had been at the marquis' mansion for a year, yet she still had no status. She knew that if she argued with Su Huiyan and offended him, she would have no place left in the home mansion. She had to take drastic measures to make Su Huiyan marry her. Since her feelings had faded, she would use his weakness to control him. Lin Qingge waited and waited, finally finding the right opportunity. In the cold winter, the old matriarch of the home mansion fell ill with a severe cold. As the eldest son and grandson, Su Huiyan took it upon himself to show filial piety by preparing medicine and tending to her. One night, Su Huiyan, in a daze, added an excessive amount of aconite to the old matriarch's medicine. The overdose was poisonous. The home mansion did not notice. The next day, the old matriarch passed away. Lin Qingge, however, seized the opportunity to threaten Su Huiyan with the medicine residue. 3 months after the old matriarch's death, Su Huiyan married Lin Qingge. On their wedding night, there was no sign of the love they had once shared. Su Huiyan's former affection had vanished, replaced by hatred. The once moving romantic affairs had become a source of torment. On the day of the wedding, Su Huiyan specially wrote a letter to Xia Jijun. It was so sappy and sentimental that it made one dizzy. Xia Jijun only read 2 lines before tossing it into the fire pit. Xia Jijun and I put on a show of saving each other in public, then began to call each other sisters and act intimately in broad daylight. Xia Jijun began visiting the mansion more frequently. So frequently that some people were dissatisfied. Lin Qingge was dissatisfied and wrote a letter scolding me for being so close to her rival. Su Huiyan was dissatisfied because Xia Jijun had gone to the marquis mansion and hadn't visited me as often. They were dissatisfied. But what did that have to do with me? I just didn't expect Xia Xiqing to get involved. One day while sleeping, he muttered in his sleep, "It's okay, Miss Xia. I have a good temper and won't disturb you and Qing Huan's affection." Scared, I pinched his nose to wake him up. When Xia Xiqing woke up, his eyes were red, and he looked wronged. "Qing Huan, do you find me annoying for disturbing you and Miss Xia's affection? I'll be more careful next time. Please don't chase me away. Okay?" What a load of nonsense. To dispel Xia Xiqing's thoughts, I nearly broke my back over the next few days. In the winter, the cold was biting, making people's teeth chatter. Thinking of Lu Sun, I prepared 10 cartloads of cotton clothes and sent a caravan to transport them to the northern frontier. A few days ago, Lu Sun wrote a letter saying he was brave and skilled in battle, had killed many enemy soldiers, and had been promoted to general. I was thinking about what to write in the family letter when suddenly everything went black, and I fainted. I thought it was from overwork. By the bed, Xia Xiqing stared blankly at my stomach. I was pregnant. Thinking of my cute and obedient daughter, I couldn't help but feel excited. "Daughter, Rest assured, this mother will clear away all obstacles in this lifetime. As I was thinking this, I heard Xia Xiqing say, "Wife, the doctor said Chinga had a miscarriage. Should we send some tonics over?" Miscarriage? It's said to be in the first 2 months, with an unstable pulse and fetal movement. It's just hearsay. The actual situation is that Lin Chinga is pregnant and unable to attend to Su Huyan. The lady of the marquis mansion took the opportunity to get Su Huyan drunk and pushed one of her maidservants toward him. Su Huyan didn't refuse. While the two were doing their business, Lin Chinga returned. She beat the maidservant like a madwoman. Because of the matter with the old lady of the marquis mansion, Su Huyan had long been annoyed with Lin Chinga. So he stood in front of the maidservant and pushed Lin Chinga away. Lin Chinga's abdomen collided with the table corner, and the child died that day. There's no need to send tonics. Give the doctor some silver, and if anything happens, ensure Lin Chinga's survival. Since ancient times, childbirth has been a perilous ordeal for women. I fear Su Huyan will use this opportunity to harm her. It's not that I pity Lin Chinga. I merely want her to experience the agony of being betrayed and secretly harmed by those closest to her. As I expected, someone had added an excessive amount of red flour to Lin Chinga's medicine. Red flour promotes blood circulation and dissipates blood stasis. After drinking the medicine, Lin Chinga bled profusely and nearly lost her life. Fortunately, the doctor used a golden needle to stimulate her acupoints and pulled her back from the brink of death. However, this time, the damage was severe. Lin Chinga survived, but she can no longer conceive. Upon seeing this, the lady of the marquis mansion urged Su Huyan to demote his wife to a concubine. If the old lady were still alive, she would never have allowed Su Huyan to act so recklessly. Lin Chinga had suffered a miscarriage while trying to bear Su Huyan's child. And before she had even finished her confinement, she was demoted to a concubine. If word got out, who would dare to marry their daughter to him? Alas, the Ho family was short-sighted, caring only about immediate gains. After the miscarriage, Lin Chinga was banished to a remote wing of the mansion. The maids and servants who had once served her now turned on her, humiliating her. Everything she had brought with her from the Lin family was seized and divided among them. The following spring, the epidemic that had been delayed for a year broke out. Although Minister Xia Shang listened to Xia Jijun's advice and investigated in Azhou, punishing a group of people, the magistrate of Tongzhou, a county hundreds of miles away from Azhou, harbored hopes of getting away with it. Fortunately, the imperial hospital had already prepared preventive remedies, so the situation in the capital was under control. Outside the capital, however, things were not so fortunate. Some took advantage of the situation to amass wealth, monopolizing the most crucial medicine for treating the epidemic, ma huang, in an attempt to make illicit profits. Within the capital, all was peaceful and orderly. Outside the capital, the people were struggling to survive. The emperor was furious, but there were always those who valued money over lives and resorted to underhanded schemes. Take Su Huyan, for example. After the old matriarch passed away, there was little left of her dowry, and the marquis family had no choice but to live frugally. In order to save money, Su Huyan stopped hanging out with his group of friends. After a while, his friends noticed something was wrong. They deliberately arranged a banquet to entertain Su Huyan and offered him ways to make money. What if we get caught dealing in ephedra? If you don't say anything and I don't say anything, who would know? Besides, you're a marquis. Who dares to touch you? After being persuaded like this, Su Huyan made up his mind. However, the marquis's household treasury was empty, and he didn't even have the capital to stockpile ephedra. You don't have any. But what about your concubine? She's the second daughter of the Lin family shop. Under the influence of outsiders, Su Huyan humbled himself and went to Lin Chinga to apologize. He then showered her with affection and tenderness. 3 days later, Su Huiyan revealed his true intentions. If I had money, would I have been driven here by you and tormented by maidservants? The words of his unscrupulous friends. Su Huiyan repeated verbatim to Lin Qingge. 3 days later, I was dragged to court by Lin Qingge's lawsuit. In court, Lin Qingge accused me of oppressing my younger sister and embezzling family assets. She said that when my parents were alive, they left behind a box of priceless pearls. Eldest sister, now that I am married, when will you return the 6 pearls you owe me? I brought my parents' spirit tablets to the court today so they can see what kind of heartless and treacherous person the Lin Qingge they once pampered is. I presented the ledger, detailing all the expenses incurred over the years for taking care of Lin Qingge, treating her illnesses, and purchasing clothes and jewelry for her. The Eastern pearls your parents gave you, I can give them to you. But what about the kindness I showed you over the years? The 10,000 taels of silver I spent on you? How will you repay me? Lin Qingge bit her lip and said nothing. She knew full well she couldn't repay the money. Not only could she not produce it, but those items had already been transferred to the private accounts of the marquis's wife. But no matter how reasonable I am or how I defend myself, the judge presiding over the case still sides with Lin Qingge. There is no other reason, because Lin Qingge represents the marquis's mansion. Su Huiyan cannot afford to offend her. I will return the 6 pearls to you. From now on, you and I will be like this jade bracelet. From now on, we will have no further connection, even in life or death. I reached out and shattered the jade bracelet on my wrist. That was the birthday gift Lin Qingge had bought for me with her New Year's money when she was 6 years old. One for her, one for me. Lin Qingge won the case, but she sat collapsed on the court floor, picking up the shattered pieces of the jade bracelet, sobbing uncontrollably. 5 days later, Xia Jijun, who had secretly visited the Minister of the Interior, heard about this and was furious. If I had known about this, I would never have gone with my father to see the medicine. What a waste of those Eastern pearls. A waste? I don't think so. Lin Qingge's outburst was just what we needed. Now everyone knows there's no connection between her and me. I've already asked someone to keep an eye on Su Huiyan's every move. On the day he dined with his unsavory friends, someone recorded every detail and handed it to me. 6 Eastern pearls for the life of the entire Su mansion, it's a fair trade. Once the Eastern pearls were in his possession, Su Huiyan immediately stockpiled 3,000 pounds of ephedra. Due to the epidemic, the price of ephedra skyrocketed. By the next day, Su Huiyan had already sold it for 6 taels of silver. The common people were crying out in distress. But Su Huiyan was ecstatic. He planned to wait for the price of ma huang to rise further, aiming to sell it when it reached 10 taels of silver. Su Huiyan made his first fortune through the scheme. The money came too quickly, and Su Huiyan grew arrogant, hoarding another 2,000 caddies of ma huang. The price was the same as before, but this time he added half as much fake medicine. Buying and selling. This money was too easy to make. Fortunately, Xia Jijun brought a team of doctors to the epidemic-stricken areas for free medical treatment. All patients with the epidemic received their medications at a 20% discount. Xia Jijun's medications were naturally funded by the Lin family merchant house. Every time she arrived in an area, she left behind a flag of the Lin family. With Xia Shangshu's strategic advice to the emperor and Xia Jijun's diligent medical examinations, the prolonged epidemic was brought to an end in less than half a year. The people celebrated joyfully, and the emperor issued a special edict to commend Xia Jijun as the Lady of Anning County and granted her a county mansion. Before entering the palace to audience with the emperor, Xia Jijun mentioned my contributions in front of him. The emperor was overjoyed, bestowing the Lin family's business as an imperial merchant and awarding them 10,000 taels of silver. Those who had merited were rewarded, and those who had erred were punished. Xia Xiangshu took the opportunity to report to the emperor the list of merchants who had hoarded goods during the epidemic and officials who had taken advantage of the situation for personal gain. Su Huiyan was among those listed. Out of consideration for the fact that the yeoman marquis and his fellow marquises had all died in battle, leaving only Su Huiyan as the sole legitimate grandson, the emperor spared him from the death penalty. While the death penalty was commuted, the punishment remained. An imperial edict was issued, ordering all the marquis' family assets to be confiscated and transferred to the state treasury. The marquis' relatives were exiled to the harsh northern frontier. As the officials were seizing the estate, Lin Qingge took advantage of the chaos to hide a pearl. The Marquise of Yong'an's wife couldn't catch her breath and went mad. Lin Qingge clapped her hands in delight. No one knew that it was Lin Qingge who had reported Su Huiyan's collusion with merchants. No one knew the reason behind her actions. On the day the home mansion was raided and its family members exiled, Lu Xun's army achieved a great victory and returned triumphantly to the capital. The two groups collided head-on. The personal guards leading the way bowed and stepped aside. Lu Xun rode a majestic horse, his armor shimmering in the sunlight. "I've never seen such a handsome young general." The young general was full of vigor. Unaware of which family's daughter he had charmed, Lin Qingge heard the shy words of the woman beside her and suddenly looked up, locking eyes with the man. As if by some unseen force, Lu Xun also looked up. Their eyes met. But Lu Xun's expression was calm and emotionless. Lin Qingge's gaze shrank, and she lowered her head, refusing to look again. The deputy general asked Lu Xun, "General, did you happen to meet someone you know?" Lu Xun waved his hand. "I don't think so. Tell the troops to hurry up." It had been 4 years since he had seen his older sister, and he missed her dearly. When Lu Xun returned home, his daughter was just 2 years old. She was bold and fearless, unafraid of her father's stern demeanor. She called out softly, "Uncle!" It was half a year later when he heard news about Lin Qingge again. It was said that the escort team protecting Lin Qingge had encountered a group of brutal bandits on the road. They were ruthless and took pleasure in torturing people. "I know what those bandits look like. I can avenge my family." The lady of the home mansion and Su Huiyan, desperate to survive, turned against each other, accusing Lin Qingge of hiding a priceless Eastern pearl, fearing others would fight over it. Lin Qingge swallowed the pearl whole. The bandits, desperate to retrieve the pearl, slit open her abdomen. Su Huiyan and the lady of the home mansion were hacked to death with swords, their bodies left in pieces. The emperor was enraged and dispatched Lu Xun to capture the bandits. Once captured, they were to be executed without returning to the capital to report. Lin Qingge's body was devoured by wild dogs and could not be found. I asked Lu Xun to pick a peach branch from the path where Lin Qingge had passed. I brought it back to the Lin mansion and planted it in the garden. The peach tree grew lush and vibrant, with blossoms in abundance, but it never bore fruit. One day, my daughter, still half asleep, came running to me. "Mother, I dreamed of a beautiful aunt who said she was wrong and told me to give this to you." My daughter opened her palm, and a round pearl lay there. It was the very pearl that Lin Qingge had taken with her when the house was raided. The next day after my daughter spoke, the peach tree suddenly bore fruit. But the following year, the branches withered, and there was no more fruit.